GM.
Some games are simply as brilliant as Stephen Hawkins' mind. And this game, the game we're going to look at here, won the Brilliancy Prize from the Gibraltar 2019 Open, which I had the privilege of commentating on with the lovely Jovanka Huska. And I'm going to take you through the highlights now. And normally a Brilliancy Prize is something that sparkles, something that is a little bit special. And this game is certainly special, but the weird thing is the result may not be what you expect. Now, Gawain had the white pieces, and he started the game with his favourite move, e4. A more demanding move than d4 in a lot of respects. Alejandro Ramirez played e6. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of both these players. Alejandro is Caruana's second and a very strong chess player, and Gawain is one of England's strongest chess players of all time even. And we have the French defence, so d4, d5, and now knight d2 to Tarrasch. Ramirez plays a simple line. He captures on e4, and after knight takes e4, he prepares the move knight to f6 with knight to d7. And this is a very standard way to play, and this is the Rubinstein variation of the French defence. Black wants to play knight f6. Hasn't got as much space, black, as white, but very, very solid structure. White develops knight to f3. The knight comes to f6, and Gawain simply captures on f6, and now plays a move which is positional in nature, g3. The bishop aims to g2, where it takes over a very good diagonal. Another aggressive idea would have been putting the bishop on d3, potentially against the castles later on, but g3 makes a lot of sense. And now Ramirez has this problem, which you often have in the French defence. On move 1, you put the pawn on e6, so what do you therefore do with your poor little guy on c8, the bishop on c8? This bishop trapped behind that pawn. So Ramirez plays b6, trying to get the bishop to this diagonal. Very logical move. And Gawain now plays bishop b5 check. And this is aimed to disrupt black's development somewhat, because he has to break the check. And now after a4, it's a little tricky decision for black to make. He can't get his bishop to the long diagonal. And if he captures on b5, this is one case when the double pawns are good, because the pawn on b5 gets a hold on these two squares, nice light squares, and the a file is very handy for white. So instead, black just goes a6, saying, where are you going to go, bish? Where are you going to go? You're going to go home? And the bishop retreats to e2, and this has all been played before, even in one of Gawain's games. They're following a previous encounter. The bishop gets the diagonal, Gawain castles, and this is where the first novelty is seen. White's idea is to put the knight upon e5, and this is the whole point of white's play. So after something like bishop e7, the knight comes to this square, and you can see that c6, this highlighted square, is a weakness in black's position, and white's idea is to try to come into that square because it can't be defended by a black pawn. So when the bishop moves, something like bishop f3, and if there's an exchange of bishops, you can see this square is ideal for the white knight. That's why Alejandro plays knight d7, just defending against the invasion. Bishop c4, typical aggressive play from Gawain. He wants to blow the position up with d5. A nice idea. Black needs to develop bishop e7, and Gawain plays d5, and this is where it really starts to come to life, the position. I was commentating the game live, and I thought, okay, interesting position. If black can get castle, black may be okay. Black has to take that pawn. Now, I think a less an imaginative player rather than Gawain would have simply taken back on d5 here, aiming for a small advantage after something like bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, castles, bishop f4. And white has a bit more space here, but it's a very symmetrical pawn structure, meaning black has decent drawing chances. But Gawain is known for his aggressive play, and he now starts to go for a crazy idea. Knight d4. Yes, please. The knight attacks the bishop. And again, if the knight reaches that square after something like pawn takes bishop, knight takes here, the queen has to move, rook e1. Black is in a diabolical situation. He can resign straight away. He's losing a piece. So after knight d4, black must move the bishop. And now we see Gawain Jones's very imaginative idea. Knight to f5. The knight jumps into this square in front of the black king, ready to either invade on g7, take on e7. And now if black castles to defend g7, white can take on f5. And compared to the last variation, this knight has reached a much superior square. It was Garry Kasparov who said, if you're playing with white and your knight gets to the f5 square in front of your opponent's king, it's worth a pawn. So you can be a pawn down and it's still okay, because the knight is such a strong piece on that square. So again, I think black is forced to grab the piece on c4. And Gawain's idea is now knight takes g7 check. Not shots from there. I sounded like a bit of a British farmer there. Maybe, I don't know. King f8. And now bishop h6. And with an absolutely fascinating position. There was another option. White can actually force a draw here with a remarkable second sacrifice. Knight to e6 check. This has to be taken, and the point now is that the queen and bishop have entrance into the position, but there's no more than a perpetual check here. For example, bishop h6 check, and on the next move white's queen will come into h5 or g4. So for example, it doesn't really matter. King to this square. The only thing that does slightly matter if you go back to e8. If you do that, you're a blooming fool. Go and read some beginner's books. Sorry, I'm being harsh, but no, it's not the best square, is it? Queen h5. And this is kind of not a very pleasant position to be in. But the draw is probably the most likely result after something like king here, check, king f7, check. And of course, we have some repetition like this. And this is a very likely line. But Gawain plays bishop h6, aiming for more. King to g8 is really the only decent option here, because knight to e6 is a massive threat. And this position now, it reminds me of a very famous game that I did a video on for chess.com. I'll post a link to that video in the description. I mean, I think you have to be a premium or diamond member to watch the video for free. I've done many videos over there. But it's very similar, and this is what I really want to get across to you if you're trying to improve your chess. Chess is patterns. Once you see one sequence of pattern or patterns, as just remember the highlighted pieces there, you can often work out plans to do with those pieces in the future. And you've got to learn. It's all about learning knowledge, learning about these patterns, learning what works, learning how the pieces communicate well if you want to become a stronger chess player. Surely that's one of the reasons we play. So I'll show you the game I mean in a second. But first of all, Gawain now, very brave player, plays a very brave decision. I mean, I think he should go knight e6, transposing to the draw line, but it's very un-Gawain-like. I mean, he wasn't a knight at a round table for nothing. And he plays rook to e1. An unbelievable idea. And, I mean, one thing that we can see here, that if the knight moves, now white puts the knight back on f5 in some situations, and if you ever have a queen takes queen, well, what is the best move here? I'll leave you to ponder on that one. It might not be taking the queen. Let's just give you a little clue there. There might be something a little bit more spicy. So, very brave move, rook to e1, increasing the pressure. And here, Ramirez defends very well. He plays bishop to f8. And this is trying to plug some holes around the king. And this is a very complex position. Rook to e8 was played by Gawain. But after queen f6, it's probably black who anyone is better. But it's immensely beautiful combinations here. I mean, we can have a look at some lines. I mean, I think the next move, queen takes d7, is pretty much forced. And what happens here? Well, first of all, what happens if black plays queen takes bishop? I mean, that gets rid of one of those dangerous pieces around the king. Well, the issue here is that the knight comes back to this powerful f5 square, attacking the queen. And now, where does the queen move to? I mean, there are other options here as well, but this is probably the strongest move. Knight to f5. If the queen goes to g6, knight e7 wins the queen with check. And this knight is going to be very hard to stop from coming into the square. So this is just one of the ideas that white has here. So really, you have to get rid of this rook. This is becoming clear. I mean, there's too many white pieces surrounding the black king. So rook to e8 was played. Knight to e8 now happened next, and attacking the queen, forcing the queen to move. And there's a beautiful variation here. Queen to f3 was something that, of course, Alejandro wanted to play in the position. But now white has a simply beautiful way to win the game. Can you see the win? I mean, pause the video if you need to, but I'm going to have to share it with you here. White is faced with impending doom. So he needs to do something drastic. And in these situations, you need to think outside the box. And this is one situation where if you've already seen the game I'll show you in a minute, very briefly, you might well notice the winning move. Queen g4 check. And this is just releasing the black queen from the f6 square. So, for example, if the queen takes the queen, knight f6 is astonishing checkmate. Really beautiful position there. So, after knight takes e8, black could have now gone... Well, I mean, at this stage, he could have gone for more risky options to try to play for the win. But after a game like this, he goes to queen takes h6. And this now allows queen g4 check. When the draw, I think, is a fair result here. There's still some things to consider for black. I mean, bishop g7 was one move which, in the commentary room, we thought black could have played to try to play for a win. Black is a piece up after all. Now, I have a rule. When you're attacking, look at the pieces that are in the game active. If you can't do anything with these two pieces, which white doesn't have any useful moves with these two pieces now, bring in reinforcements. And a way to try do that is by bringing in the only piece that's not doing anything, the rook. So something here like rook to d1 is an amazing position. And I was considering the line now, queen g6, and now white has to keep creating threats. And this line with rook d8 is simply astonishing. Again, you're leaving the queen on pre, but it's the trick, the gift that keeps on giving. Knight to f6, and this time we have a double checkmate. And this is a very scary position for black to face here after rook to d8. And, well, in this case, there's no way out. If you go h6 trying to run away, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Double checkmate. The knight and rook both deliver the deadly check. So bishop g7 was a very risky way to play. And in the end, black decides to play queen g6. And now we have a very interesting repetition. Knight to f6 check, only move king g7, knight to e8 check, and black is forced to take the draw. If the king comes out, well, queen h4 check, queen h5. There's at least a draw here, but obviously white has other options. So the game ended with a repetition and a very exciting draw that ended in the best game prize. £500 be given to both these players. Now, I don't know what you think. Should the best game prize be a win? I mean, I think it should be something that is very publishable, something that is fun to look at, something that sparks our interest. And the one thing I want to show you here, and again going back to patterns, is another game which was maybe even more sparkling than that one. And this was a game played between two players I'm not aware of. You can see their names in the chat here. And it was the Max Lang attack, very popular at club level. I'm just going to go through the moves extremely quickly. And the thing that I think is quite intriguing about this is all theory, is that the position that is quickly reached after some logical moves is very, very similar, as we're going to see, to the game that we just saw. I mean, you have this bishop, rook, king, and pawn. And if white can get a knight into the position, then it's an astonishing win. And after knight to e4, b6, c3, knight to e5, white now played one of the most beautiful combinations I've ever seen, and it's certainly a favourite of mine. So well done on Bozidar, who came up with this combination. And the combination he played was knight takes e5, And again, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's getting a knight to f6. And this is what I mean. Once you've seen a pattern, once you've seen an idea in one game, try to visualize it, try to memorize it, and try to use it for future. The queen is now taken. And what is the winning move here? And again, pause the video if you need to. The winning move is knight d7. Astonishing. The knight is aiming for f6. So if queen takes knight, knight f6, boom! That's a big boom. So there's only one way to stop this. You have to defend the e7 pawn, bishop e7. And I'm not going to tell you the solution here. Leave it in the comments below. Who's going to be first to tell the answer to white to play and force checkmate in this position? Look for the gift that keeps on giving. That is the answer. But anyway, congratulations to Gwaine Jones and to Alexandro Ramirez for winning the best game prize there, sharing it at Gibraltar tournament I commentated on for the last 8 years. And a great game. So well done to both of them. Hope you enjoyed that. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. It does help massively. And I'm now just going to leave you a little promo to something we've created at Ginger Gem that we're very excited about. It's our latest idea, something new for us. It's interactive courses. Courses with videos, 10-hour videos where you do the video and then you look through at the puzzles. You try to solve interactive puzzles, you have the PGNs, it's a whole kabang. So it's more than just a DVD, it really is an interactive experience. So little promo for you guys, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Thank you for watching this. Cheers, goodbye.